Hey, this is MrPJ, and I'm in a little beach in Fort Lauderdale, or in Fort Pierce. I'm on Hutchinson Island. It's hot today. There's no cars here. It's quiet. A good time for confession. Now, as Christians, we have a way of prioritizing sin, as in one sin is better than another sin or less sin. And true, that there is some truth to that, because the Lord says himself that some sin leads to death. Some sin does not. It just knocks you off course. But there is only one sin that really matters, that if all other things fail, if you commit that one, you're in trouble. And that is the not accepting Jesus before you die. I don't want to get up into heaven with any doubt about my relationship with Jesus on this earth. This past few months, I was asked to show some integrity at a business, and I just couldn't work for a business that's going to charge somebody for stuff. And then when I say that I want to do something that they said they've already done it, and they've already said that they charge someone else, and it was an integrity thing all around. And I don't want to get into the details or where it was, but it's just a small little company, and I have a hard time with that. And so I had to make a decision, and the Lord really led me in this decision. Now, the sin that I'm talking about isn't that, because regardless of whatever happens in life, I'm going to follow Christ first. When I was a new believer 17 plus years ago, the problems that I had were physical issues versus spiritual issues. I wrestled with the things of this world and not with the things of God. See, the world will say, you can do up to this, and we won't be too mad at you. But God says, we don't want you to stop there. I want you to go to here. And then once you come here, then I want you to go here, and keep progressing. Not that we're getting better as people, because the more that God shows me on what I wrestle with, the more I realize how much I need Jesus every day. And so, I'm a missionary in the Treasure Coast. I'm not an official Calvary Chapel ministry, but that's a doctrine I subscribe to. My home church is the web campus from Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale, where I go and visit 2 times a year, plus any kind of major special event like the Jeremy Camp concert. I was down there for that. Myself and Mr. Moose, we go and we do parking ministry or whatever it is for the big stadium outreaches that they do to bring as many people to come to know Christ. And as long as they have stadium events, I will be there on Christmas and Easter. That's me. That's who I am. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm wearing a green shirt or a blue shirt or you have yellow hair, I don't care. I'm there to serve my church. The rest of the year, I show up when God lets me. Until then, I feel like I'm in my own boundaries of the Treasure Coast. Now, the Treasure Coast is Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. And I know where all the boundaries are because I've been there, I photographed them. And each of the boundaries are there not for that you can't cross the boundary regulations from God. No, instead they are kind of guidances that, do you really want to go down there to do something? Because I really have you something here to do. And so I live by faith right now. And right now, to be honest, my faith is a little down. I thought this would be easier than it is. It's been 2 years since I started saying that I'm coming to the Treasure Coast to be a missionary, and I've gone through nothing but spiritual battles for 2 years. Every time, right about this time of the year, the enemy tries to kill me. It's my renewal commitment. It started when I left Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale, to go to the mission field in Chicago. I have my whole job there, which I didn't understand what it was until even now as I'm processing what it's all about. It's Stupid hat. The issue is that I don't know what the issue is. I don't care what the issue is. I don't care any of that stuff. What I want to do is I want to serve Christ. Now, for those of you that don't know what I do, I go around once in a while as a pirate, but most of the time I go around and I check businesses and things and hook them up to Google Beast and to Facebook Beast and to any of the other electronic beasts that are out there. And hopefully one day they'll all have their 10 heads and we'll figure out what's going on from there. Till that happens, I really don't care. All I want to do is serve Jesus. And my version of serving Jesus on the Treasure Coast is first loving my wife. I had to tell my wife beforehand that I was having trouble with my job, that I needed to quit and serve God 100%. You know what she said? If it takes me longer to get there, then it takes me longer to get there. I love you, and we'll work through this. Now, for those of you that don't know, for 2 years now I've been dating online this girl called Gina Pequit. A little while ago, a year ago, I asked her to marry me and to be my wife, and she wanted that commitment also from me. What I came to find out in our discussions is that she's really rather a new believer. And I was just having a hard time with the whole situation, but God said, this is the girl I have for you. Keep working it this way and keep doing this and doing that. And the opening conversation with her is, I'm a Christian. If you're not a born-again believing Christian and love Jesus more than you can ever love me, then you're not the girl for me, because you don't understand that. That's the only principle that I want anybody to understand about Christ. Your relationship with Christ to you should be the most important thing in your life, besides your wife, besides everything else. Because without that relationship with God and Jesus first, because He's your priest and He's the one you talk to about everything, if you don't pay attention to Him, you ain't going to pay attention to your wife. You ain't going to pay attention to your job or your work or your ministry or whatever it may be. What you're going to do is you're going to be dealing with God all the time. And I'd rather not deal with God. I'd rather say, God, say to me, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go this way. We're going to march that way. You're going to come into some battles that are bigger than you can ever imagine. But I want you to keep marching. And I don't want you to stop marching. And I want you to keep going. It's how our country was founded. It wasn't founded by the corporations buying things, and I'm not going to get into that because I really don't care. Me, I look for corporate sponsors. One of the ways that I sponsor what I'm doing up here is my Jeep with a little dash of help.com. Jeep-help.com. Jeep with a little dash of help.com. That's my job. That's my website. That's one of them. And that's where the pirate game and all that part is. Now, I want you to understand, as Christians, for some people, Jeep is their God. You laugh, you say, no, it's not. I can tell you, I am a person who was designed to worship something. When I was 16, 17, 18, 19, I worshipped the Jeep God. We even had rules. For instance, if we were playing the radio, all of a sudden AC/DC, Hell's Bells came on. You know what we had to do? Otherwise we'd be cursed by the Jeep God. We had to run and find a graveyard and drive around the graveyard 3 times. You know, just crazy stuff that we did as kids. But there was some truth to that. All my life, I've had a spiritual connection that I cannot explain to most people. This spiritual connection is I don't know how to describe it. Before I was a Christian, I used my gift for witchcraft. Now, the Bible speaks about witchcraft, and if we're going to talk about sin, we need to talk about the sin that affects us. I do have a problem with lust, but God's really been dealing with that with me, and I lust after Gina. If she's not my wife, I have a lot of sin to account for. But as far as lust goes, that's who I lust after. I don't lust after any other woman but my wife. In fact, just my whole life is a testimony to everything. See, I broke my ring the other day, and this morning while I'm out with my pirate, I'm talking to a girl named Ashley. And Ashley, last time I saw Ashley, she was sad because she thought her name didn't mean anything important. And really it means girl whose dad lives by the trees. And I'm like, okay, what are you going to do with that? And so I mentioned a few things, and she just was like, you're weird. I'm like, cool. And so we got on talking about other things, and this other girl says, you should marry an Ashley. And I said, no, I've already married a Gina. A what? A Gina. I thought she said Gino, and I wanted to clarify, it's not a Gino, it's a Gina. And so, you know, oh, I don't go that way. Adam and Steve wasn't for me. Anyways, so we went and we had this discussion, and one of the things that I got to share with them was marriage is like my ring. I was working on something the other day, and if I would have had a gold band on, my finger would have been lost. Instead, I wear a rock ring, and as a matter of fact, I'll get it here right now. And with the rock ring, what happens is when you put it on, you can't, well, the ones that I buy, you can't take it off. And so, it stays on. Now, last time I bought two because I never want to be without a ring. If an accident happens, an accident happens. So this is actually my wife's toe ring, and so I put that on, and it fits like a ring should fit. Okay, so I do have this ring. Now, it's a rock ring. If I take this ring, but it's a heavy-duty rock ring because it's a toe ring, if I take this ring and I smack it against something, it will break. I promise you it'll break. When it breaks, it's exactly like your marriage. If you hit something with it and it breaks, you've also broken your marriage. For me, a rock ring reminds me that I have to guard my marriage. That I have to, even now, pray for my wife daily, hourly, without ceasing, that she can have the things that she needs to get here. I know for a fact that she's on her way. I don't know how to get her here. It's not my job, it's God's job. But that's how I get to share my life. And today, because of a pirate's hat, I got to share to 4 people about purity. About, don't you give it. You make sure he gives you a ring before you give it up. Don't give up that stuff for nothing. Now, to a Christian, that might be offensive. But to a non-believer, it's something that goes in their head. There are guys that will wait. There are guys. They may be a little strange, but there are guys that will wait for his wife. And I will wait for my wife because she is the one who God has put in my life. How that happens, I don't know. I don't have a job. I've got $172 in the accounts. I have rent due, and I need $800 a month to survive. I need to pay $1,200 for a truck, and I need $1,600 for insurance. Anybody got a donor out there that wants to help a missionary out here in the United States? Your business gets free advertising on all my networks.